Jangan komentar sebelum tonton video ini sampai habis ya.
We can ask a much more reasonable question. Where and how did Jesus claim to be God? And here we can look at all kinds of interesting passages.
Memangnya ada ayat Alkitab yang menyebutkan bahwa Yesus adalah Tuhan? Kalau tidak ada, apakah orang Kristen sebodoh itu menganggap Yesus adalah Tuhan?
You Christians say that Jesus is God and that we're supposed to worship Him. If you can't show us where Jesus said, "I am God, worship me," in those exact words, you're clearly wrong about Jesus.
In the Bible, he says in the Bible,
Yeah,
where Jesus claims to be God
yeah. He doesn't
Or-
limit it to the Gospels, exactly.
or to demand worship.
Exactly. Yeah.
No clear statement anywhere in there.
Kami setuju bahwa statement Yesus tidak mengklaim dirinya sebagai Tuhan, aku Tuhan, aku Allah. Itu memang tidak ada di dalam Alkitab. Oh, gitu.
Jadi biar Yesus tidak pernah ngomong aku ini Tuhan, lihat murid-muridnya ngomong apa. Tidak perlu harus Yesus kemana-mana, aku ini Tuhan, sembah aku ini Tuhan. Tidak perlu. Dengar kesaksian orang-orang dekatnya bilang apa, bisa dipercaya.
Say that it feels right.
We can ask a much more reasonable question. Where and how did Jesus claim to be God?
Juga orang biasa yang datang kepada Yesus dan mengakui Yesus adalah Tuhan. Di Injil Matius 15 ayat 22 dituliskan, "Maka datanglah seorang perempuan Kanaan dari daerah itu dan berseru, 'Kasihanilah aku ya Tuhan, anak Daud, karena anakku perempuan kerasukan setan dan sangat menderita.'" Peristiwa ini adalah salah satu peristiwa di mana ada seorang wanita yang datang kepada Yesus dan menyebut Yesus adalah Tuhan, anak Daud. Simon Petrus mengakui bahwa Yesus adalah Mesias, anak Allah yang hidup. Di Injil Matius 16 ayat 16 dituliskan, "Maka jawab Simon Petrus, 'Engkau adalah Mesias, anak Allah yang hidup.'"
Now, both Richard Bauckham and F.F. Bruce hold to the idea that Mark was first and John last. Now, what else do these scholars tell us? So, Matthew and Luke are somewhere in between, but it is important to notice also that the scholars believe that Mark was a source used by Matthew and Luke in the composition of their own Gospels. But, as noted by F.F. Bruce, Matthew and Luke sometimes made improvements to Mark's Gospel. For example, there are improvements which show that in Mark's Gospel, but then in Matthew's Gospel, in the same incident, you can compare them side by side. For example, Mark chapter 8 verse 29, Peter answered him, "You are the Messiah." But compare that with Matthew chapter 16 verse 16, Simon Peter answered, "You are the Messiah, Son of the living God." So the later gospel has inserted here, "Son of the living God," in Peter's speech, as it is admitted by many scholars who have worked on this. You go from Mark to Matthew, the same incident, the person referred to Jesus as Lord. So in Mark 9:5, Peter said to Jesus, "Rabbi, it is good for us to be here." In Matthew 17:4, Peter said to Jesus, "Lord, it is good for us to be here." So in the one gospel, he's called Rabbi, the earlier one. In the later gospel, he's called Lord. So there is a significant improvement here from a Christian point of view. Second, there are improvements in which we find in the later gospel that Jesus describes himself as Lord. For example, in Mark chapter 13, verse 35, "Therefore, keep awake, for you do not know when the master of the house will come." Compare that with Matthew chapter 24, verse 42. "Keep awake, therefore, for you do not know on what day your Lord is coming." What did they call him this time? Lord. It's the same incident, just the later gospel. The situation has been changed, or the wording has been changed. Then there are improvements to reduce Jesus' emphasis on one God. In Mark chapter 12, verse 29, Jesus was asked, "What is the first and the greatest commandment?" And this is what he said. "The first is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength." But then the same story is told in Matthew's Gospel. What has happened to the first commandment? It's just not mentioned. In Matthew chapter 22, verse 37 and 38, Jesus just simply said the part about loving your Lord with all your heart and all your soul and with all your mind. And he said, "This is the greatest and the first commandment." But that's not true. That is not the first commandment. The first commandment is, as it was mentioned in Mark, the earlier of these two Gospels. So Jesus does not repudiate the title in Matthew's Gospel. According to James Dunn, Matthew here has modified not only the response, but in order to get the modified response, he also modified the man's question.
Di Kristen tidak ada kok Trinitas dalam Alkitab. Kata Trinitas memang tidak ada dalam Alkitab. Kata Trinitas memang tidak ada dalam Alkitab.
Pasal 14 ayat 9 mengatakan, yang artinya, dan pada hari itu, Yahweh akan menjadi raja atas seluruh bumi. Yahweh lah satu-satunya, dan namanya pun satu. Jadi bukan tiga. Tidak ada istilah Trinitas dalam kitab sucinya Nasrani.
Apakah Yesus Kristus atau Sang Anak memang adalah Allah lain di samping Bapa? Maka memang Anak dan Roh Kudus itu menjadi Allah lain di samping Allah Bapa.
Kalau Yesus dan Bapa satu pribadi, itu tidak memungkinkan terjadi komunikasi. Sedangkan Yesus sering bicara, sering berdoa kepada Bapa. Bapa juga pernah bicara pada Yesus pada waktu dia selesai dibaptis. Inilah anakku yang kukasihi, kepadanya aku berkenan. Nah, kalau ini satu pribadi, Yesus dan Bapa itu satu pribadi atau satu orang, bagaimana bicara satu pada yang lain? Apakah ketika Yesus berdoa dia bicara pada diri sendiri? Jadi jelas itu tidak memungkinkan. Juga Alkitab mengatakan bahwa Bapa mengutus Yesus. Nah, tidak memungkinkan satu pribadi itu saling mengutus. Juga Yesus mengatakan bahwa Bapa mengasihi aku dan aku hidup di dalam kasih-Nya. Jadi jelas itu tidak memungkinkan.
God gave you a brain to think with. Apply reason. That's why God made you a human being instead of a slug. Don't be afraid of using your intelligence to find out the truth. The truth may not be what you were taught, but if it's true, you should believe it, not run from it.
Is Jesus really divine? Is there really a Trinity? There were debates in early Christianity about who Jesus was. Was he a human being who was chosen by God? Was he God who only seemed to be a human being? Was he both God and human? What was he? And the idea that Jesus is God is an idea that was developed historically over time among Christians. It wasn't something that was original to Christianity. It's a later historical development. So too the doctrine of the Trinity. And these various ideas that I had held on to, I started to realize were historical formulations, and just the existence of God Himself. I finally came to realize that for me, it simply didn't make sense anymore.
Terima kasih ya yang sudah tonton video ini sampai habis. Jangan lupa untuk share video ini jika merasa video ini bermanfaat. Cek dan share juga video-video kami yang lainnya ya.